In the 2017-18 NBA season, NBA fans marveled at the talent around the league just like any other NBA season, but what made this one different was that there was a young phenom basketball player catching the eyes of everyone playing overseas, an 18-year-old kid who was leading an entire group of grown professional basketball players to the EuroLeague title for Real Madrid. The kid was dominating a league of grown men, not just a bunch of teenagers in college or playing in some obscure league that no one had ever heard of. No, he was playing in one of the most prestigious leagues in Europe, putting up insane numbers with his gifted scoring ability, impeccable court vision, and size and strength that enabled him to force his way to the basket over other bigs. The young protege went on to lead his team Real Madrid to the EuroLeague title, winning the EuroLeague MVP and the league's final for MVP, a feat that had never been accomplished before by someone so young. What he was doing was so unprecedented, and that it was almost thought to be too good to be true. Would his game actually translate to the NBA? Was this a case of an international player who was very skilled in a league with different rules and regulations, or was this a case of a once-in-a-generation level player that could change the trajectory of the franchise for which he would be drafted for? And that young 18-year-old kid was none other than Luka Doncic, and thus far, Luka has not only lived up to the hype surrounding him in the NBA, he has by far exceeded expectations, being one of the best players in the league at the age of 23 and ripe to win the MVP this season. If you're new to the channel, you enjoy the content, then consider subscribing, as this is a new channel and it would mean a great deal to me to help grow it further, as currently about 90% of you watching are not subscribed to the channel, and in return I'll be providing more NBA content like this all season long. Now, going into the 2018 draft, despite a lot of teams tanking for the likes of Luka Doncic, and of course you saw the trending hashtag tank for Luka in the 2017-18 season after witnessing what this young kid was doing and taking over the EuroLeague by storm. But despite the clinic he was putting up and the sheer dominance he was displaying over other professional basketball players, he was not considered to be the consensus #1 pick. In fact, most mock drafts had him going number 2 behind the star big man out of Arizona, DeAndre Ayton. And when it came to draft time, Doncic didn't even go number 2 because, well, the Kings were drafting number 2, and we all know they have a history of making the worst draft selections right before taking a franchise-altering level player. But on top of that, not only did Luka fall to number 3 in the draft, he was subsequently traded by the Atlanta Hawks, who made the selection to the Dallas Mavericks, a team that was drafting 5th in exchange for Trae Young and a 2019 first-round pick, which ultimately became Cam Reddish. No disrespect to Trae Young, because he's a star in his own right and a franchise-level player, but I think we can all agree he simply is not on the same level as someone like Luka Doncic. The Dallas Mavericks somehow managed to get a generational talent, superstar level player, most likely a future Hall of Famer. Yes, I know it's early to make that claim, but I'm going to say it anyway. They got all of that with the 5th pick in the NBA draft. Of course, right away in his rookie season, it was obvious Luka was built for this and was clearly the best player of that draft class, winning Rookie of the Year and being one of the first rookies in the last decade to average over 25-5, 21-8-6 to be exact. And Luka's play only continued to get better from there with every passing season, putting up insane numbers on crazy efficiency and setting all kinds of records as one of the youngest players in NBA history. And while the Dallas Mavericks, who were one of the worst teams in the league right before Luka's rookie season, he managed to carry this team all the way from being a bottom feeder in the West all the way to a Western Conference Finals last season, embarrassing the Phoenix Suns in Game 7 on their own home floor in the Western Semis. Doing all of this in just a matter of 4 seasons, and what Luka Doncic has been able to do so far this season has been nothing short of spectacular, on a mission not just to break insane stat figures or to be the second youngest player to win the MVP, but to contend for an NBA championship and bring Dallas their first title since 2011. Luka Doncic is currently putting up the most efficient season yet, as if he wasn't already insanely efficient, averaging over 34 points per game, which leads the league on near 50% shooting on over 23 attempts per game. 50% shooting on 23 attempts per game. That's the highest field goal percentage of his career and on the highest volume of his career. What makes it more impressive is that Luka is doing all of this despite not shooting the 3 ball very well, only 28% on over 8 attempts per game. He's also averaging near 9 rebounds and a little over 8 assists per game, which those are pretty par for the course numbers for Luka as far as rebounding and assists go. But something that's different about his game this season, has also been his ability to take care of the ball, as Luka Doncic has lowered his overall turnovers per game to 3.3, while last season he was turning the ball over 4.5 times per game. While 3.3 still might seem a bit high, you also have to factor in his usage, which is the highest in the league, and when you look at it from an assist to turnover ratio at 2.5, he has one of the best rates in the league among qualified players. Luka also currently sports the highest player efficiency rating in the NBA, and by a pretty big margin, over a full number actually, in fact, over Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's currently second in the league. And not only that, he's also leading the league in win shares, value over replacement player, and box plus minus, again, all by significant margins compared to those who are second in those respective categories. The last player to be putting up numbers like that at his age was a young Kobe Bryant. Not even LeBron James was able to put on this kind of scoring clinic on that high of efficiency as we're currently witnessing from Luka Doncic. And even for Kobe Bryant, scoring and efficiency numbers aside, he couldn't come close to Luka and his passing and rebounding abilities. In fact, Luka Doncic, just 13 games in the season, already has more triple doubles than Kobe Bryant had in his entire season when he was 23. Luka is quite simply on another level when it comes to his scoring prowess combined with court vision and rebounding. But despite all of this, the insane efficiency, his elite level scoring ability, the court vision, his level of impact on the court relative to the rest of the league, to me what's been the most impressive thing from Luka Doncic has been his defense. For a guy that was never really known for his defense thus far anyway, has made himself an impactful defensive player so far this season. I'm not saying Luka is an elite level defensive player and that he's on his way to win Defensive Player of the Year or even make an all-defensive team. No, he still has a long way to go to get there. But it's more so the fact that Luka, again, at his young age, has been able to add this to his game, and if he continues improving his defense even further as he enters into his prime while maintaining his elite level offense, it's game over for the rest of the league. You're talking about one of the greatest two-way players of all time if Luka is able to elevate his defense to the point of being a top 10 or top 15 defender in the NBA. Whether Luka gets there or not is a different story, but consider this for a moment. Luka is averaging a little over 2 steals per game so far this season, by far the most of his career, and currently 4th in the league in that category, something he's never even cracked the top 20 in before. He's averaging a career high in blocks at 0.7 a game, but aside from the raw numbers, it's the eye test that gets me. Luka is much more active and aggressive on that end of the floor, getting in passing lanes, making deflections, forcing turnovers, something you didn't see as much from Luka in years past, which to me signals, after seeing his team go to the Western Conference Finals and really getting beaten badly by a Warriors team that was one of the best in the league on defense, he now realizes that if he truly wants to compete among the best in the league and compete for a championship, he simply cannot just be a high-level offensive player. He needs to be playing at his best on both ends of the floor. Luka is hungry, determined, and motivated after being the closest he's ever been to the NBA Finals, and you're seeing it in all aspects of his game currently so far this season. And the defensive numbers back this up as well in just how locked in he is on that end of the floor. He's currently 5th in the league in defensive win shares, 4th in the league in defensive box plus minus, 14th in the league in defensive rating, and top 10 in the league in deflections per game. The eye test shows it. The numbers back it up. Luka is playing his best basketball in all facets of the game, and considering he's only 23 years old, you have to assume we're going to see him elevate his game further and further as we go on, witnessing one of the greatest players the game of basketball has ever seen as long as he continues on this trajectory. And I cannot wait to watch every minute of it and see where this incredible talent takes him over the next 10 to 15 years. We'll just have to wait and see if the Mavericks are able to keep him around long term. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.